Hello. So every year I like to go over everything that I've read. This year I thought I should do that in a way that everyone has already done. I'm very late to the party. I'm making a tier list. Let's start with one here. The Prince and the Dressmaker. This is a graphic novel that I read for the reading rush this year, and I bought it because it looked really pretty, but it's also just really cute. It's about this prince that really likes dressing up in pretty dresses, and about this dressmaker who really wants to be a famous dressmaker, and about how they help each other to realize their dreams. And it's so cute. This is the type of book that I want to read to my kids when I have kids. Let's do I Liked It. Next up, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. This is a classic. Everyone knows this book, and I literally knew nothing about it. I just knew that it was a big deal. And this book kind of broke me a little bit. Wow. I still think about this book a lot. I'm generally like a sucker for books that tell stories that are quite adult, but they're told from the perspective of a child. Like, those are pretty much my favorite books. This is one of those, and oh, my heart. Let's do The Girl Who Drank the Moon. I also read this for the reading rush, and this is a middle grade book that's very like whimsical and a little silly. On paper that sounded great, and I was really excited to read this, but I just found myself not caring that much. The story ended up going in directions that I was just kind of like, what? And it was about a year. I read Love is Hell, a cartoon book by Matt Groening. This was very hit or miss. Like, there were a couple of cartoons in here that kind of like hit me, and I was like, oh, that's some good stuff. But most of them, honestly, I found kind of lame. It felt kind of dated. It's not absolute trash, but for me, it's kind of meh. I read the Suicide Bunny books. It's just like a collection of these like illustrations of bunnies trying to kill themselves. This is probably not for everyone. You know how sometimes you have like those impulses, like for example when you're cutting vegetables, you're like, ooh, what if I just were to cut my finger? Or like, what if I were to just stick my hand in the blender? You know those impulses you get? That's what these books reminded me of. The first one I thought was great. The second one I thought was very much not as funny. I thought there were a lot more like pop culture references, and like it was just the situations in which they killed themselves were just not as funny to me. This is weird. Ooh, let's go into some Leigh Bardugo. I read a lot of Leigh Bardugo this year. Let's start from the beginning. The first book I read was Shadow and Bone, the first book in the Grisha Trilogy. This book, I wasn't sure whether I was gonna like it because the reviews were very like mixed. I was very pleasantly surprised by this. It's very YA fantasy. Like, it's really like your very standard, typical, tropey YA fantasy. But like, I had such a good time though. Honestly, Shadow and Bone was kind of guilty pleasure reading for me. It was very fun, and I would read this book again. Therefore, I'm gonna put it in great. Then the second book in the trilogy is Siegen Storm. Siegen Storm was not bad, but it was less entertaining than the first one, I thought. I think it suffers a little bit from like middle book syndrome because it is a trilogy and this is the second book in a trilogy, and it's not bad, but it dragged on a little bit for me personally. I did like it because we are introduced to Nikolai in this book, and I really like Nikolai. And then the last one we have Ruin and Rising. That's the last one in the trilogy. I liked it better than Siegen Storm, but not as much as Shadow and Bone. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in I liked it. It was a good way to wrap up the story. And then I read Six of Crows, which is set in the same universe, but it's a different story altogether, and I liked this a lot. I liked it better, I think. Now that I've let some time go over, I think I like Six of Crows better than Shadow and Bone. Six of Crows feels a little bit more mature. It was a lot less heavy on the romance. I don't know, I liked where the focus was in Six of Crows a little bit more. Then let's go into Zytune. Zytune. loved this book. It was recommended by my father, who really likes Dave Eggers' writing. I also love Dave Eggers. I've read like 3 books of his, and they're all like top notch. This one is a non-fiction book that tells the story of a Muslim family and their experiences during and after Hurricane Katrina. I never really knew much about Hurricane Katrina because I'm a Belgian girl, and also I was quite young when it happened. But oh wowie, learning about this was painful, but it was so well written. It was like not like over dramatized or anything, but I really felt like I knew these people, and I cared so much. And it talks about community, religion, racism, how bad some systems are in America. I still think about this book a lot as well, and I would... Ooh, am I gonna put it here or here? For now, I think I might want to put it here because it's great. Next, I don't have much time. I actually have to go to work soon. Let's do The Shadow of the Fox next. The Shadow of the Fox is a YA fantasy that is based on Japanese mythology, which I thought was really cool. Since I lived in Japan for quite a while, I made a video about this, and all the videos of the books that I've read, because some of these I've made like reading vlogs for, I'll put them in the description. I was pretty positive about this book back in the day when I reviewed it, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, man, this book is cringy, and it's just, it could have been so much cooler. It could have been so much more than it was. And honestly, I'm not gonna continue reading the series because I listened to the first chapter of the second book on audiobook, and I could not get through it. It was so cringy with like the Japanese words being thrown out. I couldn't do it. I was gonna put it in I liked it, but honestly, I think it's meh. Let's do The Vegetarian. The Vegetarian is another one of those books that a lot of people, like everyone knows it, but I, again, had no idea what it was about. Well, I still don't really know what it's about. At first I was like, is this a horror story? Is this like is it a mystery? Or is this just about mental health? I still don't really know. All I know is that I really liked it. I kind of loved that I didn't really know what was going on. I don't know, the language that's used in this book is so beautiful and poetic, but not in an overly flowery way, or not in a way that I don't know, I feel like this book is very to the point because it is very short, and the way it's told is so beautiful, but like so straightforward and to the point at the same time. I hadn't read a book like that ever, and even though I didn't really know what was going on, I just thought it was so beautiful. I would put this in, this was great because it was great. Let's do Animal Farm. Everyone knows Animal Farm. I'm just gonna put this in I liked it. I guess it's because I already knew the story, so it's not like I was like super mind blown by it, because I guess, you know, the story is that famous, which it's not the book's fault for just being that famous. I remember it did make me think, but it didn't, you know, blow my mind necessarily. Let's go into Red, White, and Royal Blue. It's like new adult contemporary, because it's like between adults and young adults. The premise of this was so cool. It's like the Prince of England and the son of the President of the United States fall in love, and it's kind of like a hate to love romance, like enemies to lovers romance, and like that sounds like so much fun. I was so disappointed with this. I couldn't really bring myself to care about the whole political side of it, and like maybe that's because I'm not American. And with the romance, they got together like really, really quickly, and for me, if it's like a love to hate romance, I like the hate part to be a lot longer. I like it to be very slow burn. Once they got together, which was like really early in the book, I kind of lost interest, so this is going in meh. Let's do this one. Let's Tokyo Ueno Station. This book is so good. I'm just putting it right here into the life-changing. Or should I put it here? Wait, it's like right at the top of This Was Great. This book is so beautiful. It is told from perspective of a ghost of a homeless person that lived in Tokyo Ueno Station. I know that sounds weird, but that's what it is, and it's amazing. And I feel like more people should read it, because I feel like no one I know has read this, and it's so beautiful and profound and makes you think. And then I have 3 books left. Okay, let's let's just get this over with, shall we? Let's just talk about The Name of the Wind. Okay, how do I talk about this book? Let's just put it where it belongs. I feel like people are gonna hate me for this. A lot of people that I value their opinions of when it comes to books rate this as like their favorite book of all time. Also on Goodreads, this is the highest rated book that I've read this year. I don't understand. This book made me so mad. The fact that I really dislike this book, it might have to do with the fact that it's like almost 700 pages long and it took me like 4 months to finish, and it's high-key the reason that I had such a hard time getting my reading goal, because this book took like freaking almost half a year to go through it. Oh, the main character made me so angry all the time. This main character seems like the writer's sort of self-insert wet dream of a guy who like all the girls want him. He's like super smart, he's like good at everything, but oh no, so many bad things happen to him. Despite all of those hardships, you know, he can thrive because, you know, he's a freaking genius. I think it's one of those things that like some people can see past that, and I just couldn't. I don't know, I just hate this book so much, and like nothing happens. You'd think in a 700-page book something would happen, but literally nothing happens. I feel like this entire book was just the pre-backstory to the actual story that was going to happen. The actual story that I think is going to happen sounds kind of interesting, but this entire book just seems like a little bit of a pre-explanation, and I'm just not interested in that, because the entire book was just like, oh, this guy is so poor and bad things happen to him, so now he's poor, but then he figures out some clever way to make money because he's just that guy, but then oh no, something bad happened to him again because life is not fair, and oh, they just beat him down and now he's poor again, and but then oh no, but he's so clever, so he found a way to make money again, but oh no, something bad happened to him, the world is not fair and he's poor again. That was literally the book. That was literally it. And okay, I need to stop talking about this book. I don't have time for this. I don't like it. It's trash. I read A Christmas Carol. I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. I liked the story. I liked the moral of it. The writing style was hard for me. Maybe it's because I'm not a native English speaker, but it was just a little, it was hard for me to get through. And for that reason, I'm not going to rate it higher, but I did really like the story and the moral of the story and like the Christmas spirit of it all, you know? And then finally, let's go into The Toll by Emil Schusterman. This is it's going to be the life change. This is the last book in the Scythe Trilogy, which it's my favorite series of all time. This, like, how do I talk about this series? The first book, honestly, is in this case the worst in the series because it doesn't show you the potential of what this world and this system and this premise can create. I was mind blown so many times throughout this series. It talks about humanity and life and death and religion, but like on such a deep, intricate level that it's mind-blowing. Like, it really, I am still not over this series. I had so many existential crises while reading these. They're so good. They're so good, and I wish I had more time to talk about them, but honestly, I've made videos for all of the Scythe books, so you can, I guess, if you want more, they're in the description. But they're just amazing, so go read them. Let me have a look at my tier list now and see if I need to change anything. Yeah, this seems about right, honestly. Yeah, I think that is my year in books. My favorite ones, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, The Toll, and Zytune. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then, yeah, I read a lot of Leigh Bardugo, which was fun to get into, but I also read a couple of classics, which is really nice, and then a couple of like books that like a lot of people don't seem to know, and I don't know, I think I had a really good, fun reading year. I really have to go to work now, so I'm gonna stop talking. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video, I guess. Bye!